welcome to our new unit in U.S. history. We are covering early settlement in Jamestown, the first permanent English settlement today. In previous units, we have discussed the indigenous peoples that lived in North America, their cultures, their interactions. And today, we're going to talk about how the English, settled in North America and what their interactions with those indigenous people were like. Okay. So there are three questions really you should be thinking about as you are working through this unit. One of them deals with the vocab word mercantilism. So I want you to be thinking about how mercantilism leads to the creation of colonies. It's a cause and effect, but what is the connection there? And then also, it wasn't just, it can't just be assumed that Jamestown would succeed. Jamestown went through a lot of hard situations. And so you're looking for how, what it did to overcome those situations. And then last of all, we're going to be looking at the self-governance model that Jamestown and the colony of Virginia will provide, which will become very important to the self-governance of the colonies as a whole in North America. So the question of why form a colony is interesting. It goes back to mercantilism. Mercantilism is an economic system. And in this economic system, your country wants to keep as much gold and silver within your country's economy as possible. You don't want to be spending gold in other countries to buy their goods. You want to make those goods yourself and keep that gold and silver within your own economy. And so mercantilism deals a lot with the favorable balance of trade. It also deals with the idea of exporting more than you import, selling more than you buy. So you would use these colonies, your country would use these colonies to get raw materials. And that way you weren't paying other countries for those raw materials. You were keeping the money looping around inside of your own country. Okay. So that's how mercantilism really leads to the creation of colonies. Okay, another quick topic with that is joint stock companies. Many joint stock companies are created around this time. People invest their money and hope to earn money as their investment does well. One of the most famous joint stock companies that we're going to talk about is the Virginia Company. And that company is a mining company. They're actually looking for gold and silver. They don't find that in Jamestown. Interestingly enough, they discover that there are other bits of wealth to be found in Jamestown, which we'll talk about. So if you look at the map here, right here where I'm pointing, that is the settlement of Jamestown. It's kind of inland on a river in Virginia, the colony of Virginia. Virginia was named after Queen Elizabeth. She was the Virgin Queen. And so when Virginia was named, it was named after her. And then the settlement of Jamestown, the city, was named after the King James who came later. So there's some good things about, it's a very strategic area to build a colony. It's on the river. It's good for trade. It's good for agriculture. It's good for protection. So this was not a bad location. Unfortunately, the settlers did come into a lot of issues. The settlers were primarily looking for gold and silver. They were miners. And when they showed up, there was not any of that to be found. So these miners were not prepared to do the hard labor that it took to, or have the knowledge about agriculture. And they didn't want to work in the same way they would have if they had been prepared for the situation. So by the first winter, you see only about a fifth of the colonists surviving the winter due to disease and due to starvation. So John Smith, you've probably heard of Captain John Smith before, in the story of Pocahontas. Um, what's interesting about that is that John Smith, he is pivotal for the success of Jamestown. He's a very important historical character, but he is also a self-promoter. And he liked to write a lot about his adventures. And one of his adventures he wrote about, for example, was when he was captured by some Turks, and he was saved by a Turkish princess who fell in love with him. And interestingly enough, this sounds an awful lot like the story he'll write once he comes to North America about being saved by the Indian princess Pocahontas. And so you got to take John Smith's stories with a grain of salt. That said, historians are pretty sure that he was very significant to the settlement of Jamestown. As a leader on the council, he told the men, "You don't work, you don't eat." Okay, so he was very strict with his discipline of the men in Jamestown, and slowly but surely they started building, these plots of land, these farmlands. They started building these huts and getting things situated. So he really gets them through the next few years. All right. The relationship with the Native Americans, the Powhatan people, there were about 20,000 of them that lived in this region, and the relationship was tense. There were times when things were fine, and there was trading going on between the English settlers and the Powhatans, and there was time when there was bloodshed and massacres on both sides. Particularly when more English colonists start to arrive, there's a lot of more chances for tension over land boundaries. So after more English colonists start to arrive in 1609, at that winter, the settlers really hadn't prepared enough food to last them through a harsh winter. And that winter is known as the starving time because so many of these colonists just died off in droves. Eventually, they realized that they really need to forge a relationship with the Powhatans if they hope to survive. So I have some pictures here. At the top is a recreation of a Powhatan village. And then at the bottom on the left, this is actually the Jamestown reenactment village. So those have been recreated for you to see what the settlers would have lived in. And then there's also a picture, a drawing of the fort. So you can see how that was enclosed. So another key figure in how Jamestown succeeded is a man named John Rolfe. He starts to plant tobacco in Jamestown, and quickly tobacco becomes the gold of Jamestown. Prices for it are great, and soon everyone in Europe wants to buy tobacco from Virginia, and the Virginia Company starts to focus on tobacco as well. Interestingly enough, John Rolfe also marries Pocahontas, who helps him develop new agricultural methods. The problem with this tobacco, though, is that it is a labor-intensive agriculture. And so more workers are needed in order to grow tobacco. So the colonists end up drawing from two sources for workers. The first source is indentured servants, and this sets up a whole hierarchy of power within the colony of Virginia. Basically, English colonists could pay for an indentured English servant to come over, and if they did that, the English government gave the colonist a certain amount of land, 50 acres, to grow tobacco on. And so this elevated the colonists who owned indentured or controlled indentured servants. The indentured servants would then work out their time, their debt, and they would be freed, but they would not own any land. And it's these land-owning colonists that would become the hierarchy in society. They would become the most privileged class in Virginia. So this is going to lead to a bit of tension. I always remind my students that African history does not start with slavery. even though very often in North American history, that's where it seems that the story begins. West Africa is, which we talked about in world history, has just a robust, at this time, culture. You have various cultures and religions and different types of governance going on. But Africa is another place where workers were brought from, and these people were enslaved. And the first ship to bring enslaved Africans was a Dutch ship from the Netherlands, and these people were brought to work in Virginia. And this is going to also add another level to this kind of hierarchy. And you're going to see a lot of tension also with slavery and what colonies will permit slavery or not permit slavery throughout this early time period. Okay, so last but not least, how is Jamestown governed? We're looking at self-governance here. The House of Burgesses is important for you to know. Basically, you had a representative type of government created where the representatives were colonists who came from the land-owning class in Virginia. And so they had these special privileges of being able to decide local laws and local traditions in Virginia and in Jamestown. And this is going to be interesting. It's going to set up a tradition of landowners having more rights than those without land, and is going to create some problems once you have groups of people who feel like they are not being treated equally just based on citizenship. Okay. So to summarize, okay, we talked about mercantilism being an economic system. You want the money to circulate inside of your own country. We talked about the self-governance, the House of Burgesses, where landowners were allowed to make the decisions. And we also talked about some of the problems that Jamestown faced. So I'm looking forward to hearing your vlogs. You're going to be choosing a person from Jamestown to vlog about. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what they'll have to say in their 1 to 2 minute confessional of what their life is like and what they think of what's going on in Jamestown.